I know last week I opened up with a exhale of exhaustion and annoyance, and I would much like to do that same thing this week, except that would just be way too repetitive, and I really kind of feel like I brought it upon myself this time around, but that's besides the point. Um, I was very busy this past week. This past week was freaking nuts to me, man. I started my crusade of playing. Well, first of all, a little bit of context. In this time period right now, GTA 5 was released for free for anybody with the Epic Games account. So I downloaded that, an Epic Games account, got the Rockstar stuff, and like I've been playing GTA 5 for basically this whole week. It's been very addictive, and I've gotten through the entirety of the story mode. All that's really left is to complete all the side missions and get gold on them so I can get that UFO Easter egg, and then promptly lose my sanity over online because honestly, I had about 10 minutes of experience with it, and I realize why it sucks to play with public people because nobody in that world gives a flying crap about anyone in the world. And I don't know, and I guess I can see why that place has become really toxic because GTA in and of itself is just completely mindless fun. And when you're so focused on yourself of having fun, you kind of lose regard for anybody else. It makes you really feel like that you're the center of the entire world in GTA 5, and then you have the other players there to humble you and bring you crashing back down into earth, which is a very rude awakening, but nonetheless, it is what it is, and that is GTA in and of itself. Um, but on another topic of GTA as well, because of it, I've been routinely staying up past 3 o'clock playing that game because it's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but it just kind of like it really just gets you playing the game. I can't really think about why that is. It's just I guess with like the transportation and the missions and the world itself makes it really feel like you just can't walk away from it. That's really kind of how I felt. There was a bunch of times where I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do one more mission and then I'm gonna finish up, and I end up doing like stuff that's inside the world itself and like doing things that aren't like specifically missions, but is just kind of fun to do anyway. Just kind of mess around a bit, and that then I look at the clock and I'm like, oh, it's an hour later. Then you get very lost very quickly in it, and I feel like I have uncovered a little bit of a attention deficit in myself because I always get distracted about everything in a in that game. But that is also besides the point. I don't know why I say that. I really don't have a point. Oh yeah, I did. The point is, I stayed up very late, a lot, and I've been getting a little bit better at getting up at 9:30. Strangely enough, now that the later that I've stayed up, the easier it's been to wake up at that time. It's weird. I'm gonna go to sleep at a normal time tonight, but that's because I've made a vow to myself to put away GTA until my summer class is done, and that's the biggest detriment that I've faced so far by playing GTA is that um well just last Wednesday I spent the entire day playing that game, and I wasted almost the whole day playing that game, and I ended up having to rush the completion of my work in my summer class. And now, granted, I did an okay job with everything. I say okay. I completely missed out on one thing and didn't do the. I didn't get full marks when I could have in one assignment, and I did very well on a quiz. So like I don't know. I I after that whole episode, I vowed myself to not boot up GTA until everything is completed because I was literally feeling my brain degrade from playing that game. I don't know what it is about it. It just makes you lose your mind in the worst way possible. And it's kind of scary too because like I was having fun. I was having a lot of fun, but at the same time, I didn't feel myself thinking anything, and that was weird. Like I couldn't formulate ideas, I couldn't formulate jokes in my head. I could barely enjoy myself outside of playing that game, which was a very, very concerning thing now that I think about it. I probably should be talking to more people about that. But anyway. Um, I should probably only really play online with my friends if I'm ever going to continue playing that game because honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, it's just a time suck. That's all it is to it. And the fact that they've integrated, paying real money to get money in game is makes the whole thing feel a lot more dangerous because I went into such a mindless state the past couple days when I was playing GTA. I it makes me wonder like how valid those makes me wonder like how people really staved off from, paying money to play the stuff that's in it because it's a very fun game. I will stress this. It's a very fun game. It's something about it really just works and it's so appealing despite all of its weird character movements and such like that. And by that I mean like when you're walking versus when you're in a car or something like that. It's a lot more fun and interesting to be in a car or vehicle rather than walk around on your own. I don't know. It's just a very, very good game. And, of course it is. GTA has had a life of over 10 years, so of course it has to have something that appeals to people other than being very very I don't want to say offensive because it's very over the top in its portrayals of America and such like that. So I don't want to say offensive, but what's the word? Even though it is very I don't know. I'm not I'm not the kind of person to be asking I'm not the kind of person to be asking these questions and I'm not the kind of person to be answering those questions. I'm just here to talk about my own experiences so I can look back on them later on in life if I need to learn about this. I suppose this is a life lesson to have. Just make sure you're watching your own health when you're doing things because me personally, I get very obsessive over things that I find interesting, which is kind of how I've started the whole video every week on Facebook thing, which I barely did. And that's another thing that GTA almost kind of corrupted as well because the Tuesday that I was meant to be editing the video, I had nothing, no idea, no nothing, and I ended up throwing together a last minute kazoo cover of All Star from Smash Mouth, which to me is like a very uncreative and um, very not unique thing to do. And it's very cultish and meme thing, and like it's something that literally everybody on the planet has done at one point or another. And it was fun to do. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's just like, ugh, I feel dirt. I didn't feel dirty doing it. I really enjoyed that video, but at the same time, it's just like if I'm not pushing myself to do anything in these videos, what's the point of even doing them in the first place? I suppose. Yeah. I suppose I did. Jeez. Looking back on a previous stream as well, that answers my question too. Um, the reason I'm doing it's just to entertain people during this quarantine because, you know, what else have we got going on? Let's be real. Did I even release that on a Wednesday? Oh shoot, I need to check this. I think I did. I'm sure that I did, but I'm just checking to make sure. See, that's the thing as well. These days have gotten like so far past my comprehension that I'm starting to lose track of the days just because like it's been about GTA. All right, it was on Wednesday. God, I guess I really fell hard into that game. And it's not like a new thing. I knew it was a good game, but it's just so weird. I didn't think I'd be I didn't think I'd be that hard swept into the whole thing, and now that I'm looking back on it, I'm now realizing like just how hard that I fell into the pattern of all right, time to play GTA today. That's so weird. Hmm. I suppose that's what I need to start looking out for myself with the whole AAA gaming uh layout that they have. Instead of inspiring people, it's more to numb their minds. Shoot. I really don't have a lot to talk about. I guess I have one thing to talk about, but I was hoping to save that until like the 15-minute mark because that's about as long as I think I'll have to talk about that. Quick play. I can talk about quick play or, the lack thereof. I think last week I filmed a video. I think it's a series for Not for Broadcast, that news game that was really, really cool. And I really want to put that out alongside my quick play launch. But the thing with that as well is that I'm running into the editing versus storytelling aspect that I struggled with last week, and I approached it initially as if I was going to be editing it, but then as I was playing, I kind of realized like this is more of a long running sort of video series and there's only 3 chapters in it, so there's 3 parts in it of there obviously, but at the same time, like I didn't end the videos or introduce them or anything like that. So I don't I'm at a bit of a crossroads as to what to do with it because I don't know. I feel like I'm getting very averse to editing things. And that's because I know if I start to edit something, I'm not going to see the light of day of it until a week later, and I don't want to get into that scenario. I want to be able to put something out there and get it, ready to go. Much like, how Game Grumps do it. How they have their whole thing and they just kind of go on for 20, 30 minutes or so, and then that's when they call it good. And, it would definitely be a lot easier if I had somebody else to do it with, but, with quarantine and all that, I don't think I'll be able to get that anytime soon. That and I still haven't even freaking launched Quick Play, so I need to also get on that and also put together the intro video for Quick Play to launch Quick Play, in which I have over hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes of video backlog to put in that video, even though I think that it may not be diverse enough. I I'm a wreck. I'm a real wreck. I need to get my confidence to the point where I can put it out there. And unfortunately, because of this summer class, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do it. Because, like I said, like I said, I didn't say anything. Because the summer class that I'm taking is in history. And if you know me in any way at all, which you don't, probably, I don't know. I hate history. History just doesn't click with me. History is not one of the things that I find, interesting to study for. I'd be interested in a history of somebody's like heritage or something like that, like a friend or something who talks about like his 23andMe results. I'd be like, oh, neat, that's cool. I'm not going to know about what kind of tanks they used in World War II and the sort of guns that they used in the trenches or something like that because of how strategically good they were or something like that. I don't care. People fought in the war and it was bad. People were learned it sucked in World War One, so we had World War Two again for some reason. Humans are weird, but that's not the point. The point is, I'm terrible at history, and I thought I could kind of like glide through it because it was an online course. And with online courses, you have the find function on the internet, Control F, so you can find certain things to get the answers quick enough and stuff like that. Turns out, either I just don't get the phrasing of questions that they ask in the modules we get, or the questions themselves are just really, really stupid because I've been struggling so hard to complete the assignments that were given in this program that we have that's called Inquisitive. And for those of you who don't know Inquisitive, good because it kind of sucks. And me personally, I don't like it. I hate it with a burning passion because it has some sort of a system where you wager points depending on how well you think you know the answer. And if you get it wrong, you lose a lot of points if you think you know it right off the bat. But if you get it right, then you get like more points, kind of like a risk reward type thing. But they have a sort of thing where you can get points back from the deducted points that if you got it wrong with something like that. But if you get the question wrong, you will never come out of that positive or even like net zero because the way it's designed is to allow you to keep guessing like your second guess or something like that and reward people for um getting it on their second try or something like that. The thing is that it's so demoralizing whenever you lose questions because you're not going to get positive or even net zero off the whole thing. But you also at the same time you can't give up on it because you have the opportunity to get back some of the points that you have. And the infuriating part comes is when the multiple choice stuff screws you and you lose out on the points that you could have gotten. So you just end up with a net negative 100. And the questions themselves are phrased to where you are at such a disadvantage to the system entirely. You may have complete faith in. All right, here's how like 90% of these questions are phrased or put up. There's a question that they have and or statement about something, and you have a correct response and an incorrect response below that, and in the middle of that are a bunch of possible things, and you have to put every single phrase into whether it was a correct statement or an incorrect statement. And if you get just one of these things wrong, then it counts as wrong for the whole darn thing. It's so set against you. It's so infuriating because if you get one thing wrong, you're screwed for the rest of that question. And you have to go a minimum of 20 questions. and the score to get 100% is 15,000. So if you're perfect and you say that you got it, say like you set your thing to the highest, you get 100 points for getting the correct answer. Then you only need 15 questions to get it to like finish the whole thing. The problem with that comes in those incorrect or correct response questions is that they're they have a minimum of 4 questions, like mini questions inside that question. And if you get only one of them, then it's entirely wrong. So like 15 times 4 is like just shoot 60 questions that you need to get right, and you can only miss 20 of them. You can't miss any. You have to basically get 60 questions completely right to, make the minimum, is what I'm trying to get at. And if you don't get at least one of them right, then that screws your points for the whole thing. And more often than not, you will be losing points because some question is, either phrased wrong, or there's one time where I ran into a question where the answers that I had were not covered in the responses that I was given, or was not covered in the material I was given. I was given 2 maps of different trade routes or something like that, and one of them talked about something from the Indian Americans or whatever, and another one talked about the Mughal dynasty. None of the maps had anything about the Mughal dynasty, and those 2 maps were the only references I was given to answer the question. So naturally I got it wrong because there's no way that I would have known. There's no way that I would have known. Need to take a breather there. I was getting a little heated. There's no way that I would have known anything about the question they were asking because they were not providing me the materials to answer the question they were asking, basically. If any of that rant made sense to you, I'm surprised personally, because I'm trying to think back to what I said to see if that made sense at all, and I can't remember. And I'm just gonna go on the blind faith that maybe my blind gibberish was good enough to give an example of what the heck I'm going through. It basically just comes down to either the system sucks ass or I'm just really damn stupid when it comes to history. And that's the long and the short of it. And that's really all that my week has been. I 100% forgot to write stuff down in my notebook because of just how busy I've been this past week. And I didn't even get to talk about my interview that I had. Oh, what the heck? I can knock that down in a minute, right? Basically put, I had somebody called me on my phone a couple of days ago and talked to me about, this guy named David Elsner that recommended me to work at this company called Cutco. Basically, they wanted me to sell knives for them. What it really was a job in vector advertising for, just advertising sales and stuff like that or something. I don't know. They weren't very clear in the job opportunity, which is kind of strange considering that they said that I would be a good fit for the job or something like that. It was very, very odd the way they phrased everything. But, whatever. I I did a thing with I tried to mess with them as best as I could, but I'm not as good at messing with bullshitters the same way that my dad is. So, that's his superpower. He can keep it. I'll just be the peon who doesn't understand it. Long story short, these people tried to call me. I said I didn't know if I was interested or not. Then I'm pretty sure they faked breaking up the cell signal with me, and they hung up, and I never heard from them again. However, then I did get a letter from those same people, which I recognize now as something that they have sent me a long time ago, and it said before that it was a time sensitive letter, and it's strange that a month later it's still time sensitive. So like, it's whatever. I don't think I'm gonna be anything special there. So what's the point, right? They're trying to treat me like I'm something special, even though they're probably doing the same thing to everybody else in the world. Alright, that's just about it. I've talked your ear off for way too long. So, if you have listened to this, thank you for listening to this. I don't know why you would be. And if you're me from the future who's lost your memory, stay strong, bud. Alright, see you, bye.